It's Halloween time in Strickfield, and something ancient is stalking the streets. A woman, long thought dead, rises again, her thirst eternal, her beauty unnatural, and tonight she'll find her prey.
There's a chill in the air. Must be fall. Join me for a tale of Halloween. You will experience tales of horror, ghosts, and death. It is not recommended for the weak at heart. Join me for a tale of Halloween. This is Weekly Spooky.
Hello, my spookies. We're heading deep into spooky season. I'm your host and narrator, Enrique Couto, and I'm so happy you could join me for a little something scary to make sure you're getting into the reason for the season. Tonight's story involves an awful lot of blood and the intoxicating nature of immortality. We're publishing something brand new every day this month to make sure you stay in the spooky mindset. We'll be back here tomorrow talking about my all-time favorite horror film, A Nightmare on Elm Street. So make sure you're subscribed on your favorite podcasting app. And while you're there, why not leave us a 5-star rating, especially on Apple Podcasts or Spotify? It really helps other spookies discover the show. And if you love what we're doing and want to join over 90 other spookies in supporting our program, you can head to WeeklySpooky.com/join. For as little as $1 a month, you get 2 bonus episodes every single month, over 5 years of creepypasta readings and exclusive audiobooks, and my undying gratitude. That's at WeeklySpooky.com/join. And over at WeeklySpooky.com, we have all kinds of merchandise like sweatshirts, t-shirts, and beanies to keep you warm as the weather gets more and more chilling. That's at WeeklySpooky.com. Now, as for tonight, what if Halloween wasn't just a night of candy and costumes, but a week when something old and hungry woke up to join the celebration? Gather close, my spookies, because in Strickfield some traditions were never meant to die. Halloween Blood Hunt by Rob Fields. Cameron Delaney threw up her arms in excitement. I love Halloween here in Strickfield. She turned to Erica Palance and I. Ever since I heard Halloween got voted into a whole week here, I knew this is where I wanted to go to college. You always got Halloween on the brain, Erica muttered. Cameron pointed to her. And you still came here to Strickfield U with me. Not for the same reason, Erica argued. When Erica turned to me, her expression had changed for the worst. Are you okay, Liz? You don't look so good. Did you have some skin reaction to some new product you bought or something? I moved my hand to my face and felt the wrinkles. Actually, no, Erica. I didn't have time to put any on. I was, running late for class. But you know what? We're near my cottage. I can stop there real quick and apply some product. You and Cameron can come with me. It should only take a few minutes. Cameron and Erica looked at each other for a moment, then back to me. Okay, sure, Cameron said. Let's go. Erica agreed. We were soon at my college on Pleasant Valley Road. It was a most convenient location, being the halfway point between the university and Denoyer's Grill. Also, there were no nearby neighbors, not with the old Carnavash estate directly across the street. I unlocked the door and invited my friends inside. They were quite taken in by my dwelling, so much that they were completely unaware of the locks, silently arming, with just a touch, on my smartphone. After they removed their jackets, they looked to see I'd only unbuttoned my own jacket, but not removed it. "Ain't you taken your jacket off?" Erica pointed out. "It's nice and warm in here." I love how your house smells, Liz," Cameron complimented. "What scent is that?" "It's called Autumn Spice," I answered. "I've got 2 pillar candles lit." Cameron easily found her way to the bathroom and went in. Erica went in right behind her. As they inhaled and admired the fragrant aroma, I moved up behind Erica and made a precise movement across her throat. "Cameron!" she suddenly gasped as blood practically sprayed out of her throat. As I grabbed Erica's hair and forced her to bend over the edge of the bathtub, Cameron screamed and tried to escape. I made another precise movement as the blade sprung out of the wrist of my jacket and caught her across her throat. I quickly grabbed her and bent her over the tub. I held them and let the tub fill with their rich life essences. After removing my jacket and the wrist contraptions, I inserted special hoses into the bodies and activated a pump to extract the remaining blood. The pump was my invention and worked most effectively in removing nearly every drop of blood from recently captured girls, dead or alive. Seeing that the tub was ready, I moved the bodies and removed my clothes. Upon seeing my wrinkled flesh everywhere, I reminded myself that I needed to stop procrastinating. I had lived far too long to get sloppy in my centuries of continuing youth. I stepped into the tub and sat down in the blood of those girls. After dipping my hands into the hemoglobin, I felt the sensations and saw that the wrinkles immediately faded away. From there, I worked on soaking every inch of my body, moaning upon feeling the rejuvenation that would restore my youth and beauty once more. Upon finishing my bath, I emptied the tub and stood up to turn on the shower to cleanse and rinse off. For centuries I've roamed the world that believed me dead back in 1614. In my former life, I had married at a very young age and had several children. I lived a life of wealth and privilege, much like the Mirrans whom you hear so much about here in Strickfield. How did I come to learn about my special attributes? By accident, you could say. In 1604, and being 44 years of age, I knew that I was growing old fast. During my marriage, my husband had taught me some rather interesting pleasures. I believe that he had seen something within me and knew how to bring my desires forth. For instance, he tortured multiple young girls before me for both of us to learn that it gave me sexual pleasure. After my husband was deceased, I continued on with his teachings. During one of my torture sessions with some new girls, one of them broke loose and attacked me. Seizing a razor, I subdued her by slicing her multiple times. Some of her blood had splattered onto me. Upon gazing into the looking glass afterwards, I saw the miracle. The blood had fully rejuvenated the parts of my flesh that it had soaked, most evident on my face and hands. I wasted no time in bleeding out those girls and taking my first bath in their blood. Those first feelings of being fully restored and rejuvenated were indescribable and still are to this day. You would need to experience this for yourself to fully understand. In truth, I have never fully understood where this amazing gift came from, but I made it a point to learn every aspect of it. I even bathed once in male blood to learn that it did absolutely nothing for me. The feelings of rejuvenation were non-existent and would not restore my youth. Even the blood of middle-aged women could only restore me so far, and didn't last as long as the blood of young girls. I also learned that I could drink the blood of young girls that I claimed for rejuvenation, but this process was much slower. However, I found it was so much easier to just bathe, then shower cleanse. When fully restored, my age would be that of my mid-20s. As the world moved on, I would adapt and adjust to obtain the blood that I needed. Lately, however, I've found myself procrastinating and needed to discipline myself better. My latest rejuvenation would last only a full week before I'd begin aging again. I once aged too long to the point where I became elderly very quickly.
Don't go away. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
Back in 1614, I had to fake my death by using self-hypnosis to put my body into a state of catalepsy, a sleep like that of death. Prior to that, I had been imprisoned when I was caught and tried for the murders of hundreds of young girls. I couldn't tell you how many, since I never kept an accurate count. Anyway, upon my awakening from my self-induced trance, I left my homeland of Hungary and began my travels. I had to conceal myself as an old crone until I could obtain the young girls needed to restore my youth and beauty once more. As far as the world at that time would understand, Countess Elizabeth Bathory had died and departed the world. Needless to say, no one would mourn my loss. Why would they? Would you mourn my loss, knowing what I had done, and why? Of course not. With maintaining my youth, no one learned that I remained living. Remember, I had been 54 years of age when I had supposedly departed this world. I was born in 1560, so that should give you a base for determining how long I've existed, and shall continue to exist. I had to learn and adapt to this ever-changing world as it moved on. In today's modern world of science and technology, undreamed of back in my era, young girls were so much easier to obtain for my rejuvenation. Keep in mind that I haven't lived in Strickfield, Ohio, all these years. It just happens to be one of the many places that I knew where I could easily obtain young female blood. You see, places of legend are excellent, since people tend to disappear in those regions more often than not. Strickfield has so many legends and supernatural occurrences that, as long as I didn't become too overconfident and sloppy, I could easily obtain my blood and dispose of the bodies with little to no suspicion towards me. After disposing of Cameron and Erica, I won't tell you how, I decided to head back out. By my calculations, my most recent bath would hold until November 1st. Obtaining more young female blood on Halloween night itself wouldn't be a problem whatsoever. I've told you that in Strickfield, people disappear constantly. It still surprised me that people wanted to venture to this region of shadows, or even reside here. Through my centuries, I had learned of areas that had supposed legends. When you have immortality, you've got plenty of time to explore, said legends. Even one such as I needed entertainment from time to time. The first night of Halloween week began. Normally, the custom of trick-or-treating was just for one night. However, Strickfield had become so devoted to Halloween that the village eventually extended begging for treats into a 2-night event to include the 30th. Within the last couple of years, Halloween had become so much a part of Strickfield's culture that it was voted into a whole week for trick-or-treating. In addition, there was no school on both Halloween night and November 1st. The point here was that with the Halloween celebration encompassing the last full week of October, there was even more potential for gaining my next rejuvenation bath. And before you ask, I can't just take whom I choose and store them for later use. When I claimed those 2 girls earlier, I had to use their blood immediately. Waiting too long makes the blood lose its freshness, eventually rendering it most unsuitable for rejuvenation. I could go one day at best, but no more. With a full week of trick-or-treating here, it would be most easy to claim my victims and cover my tracks. I simply targeted lone girls or those traveling in twos and followed them discreetly. Once they were isolated, then I would seize them. There was no age limit or discrimination for trick-or-treating here in Strickfield, giving me so many more choices. However, I would restrain myself and wait for the last night, as I was feeling the desire to hunt again. Halloween night had finally come, and I was most eager to hunt. I had already targeted 2 potential girls for my next bath. I studied their patterns and what neighborhoods they lived in or would frequent. Tonight, for the first time, the little girl that I had been tracking was alone. During the week, she had a friend with her. I would have liked to gain both of them, but the lone little girl would suffice. Also, I could always take a few more girls to increase the quantity for the tub. Upon rejuvenating, I would leave Strickfield and move on. Of course, I would make my yearly return next October. The little girl I was hunting was short and thin, with dark hair going down to her shoulders. She also wore glasses. The other girl she had been with was a head taller and had long blonde hair secured into pigtails that somehow hung out past her shoulders without touching them. She had been dressed Gothic, while the little girl herself was dressed as something of a Robin Hood figure, but with no bow. She also wore a common backpack instead of a quiver. When the little girl turned and walked down Pleasant Valley Road, she was practically coming right into my waiting hands. Soon the little girl would be passing my cottage. I needed to act fast.
Did you hear that? Better check the locks on your doors. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
As the little girl started to pass the cottage, I smiled at knowing that she had glanced uneasily at the Carnavash estate across the street. In fact, many trick-or-treaters crossed the street and walked on the side of my cottage. Yes, the Carnavash estate would work to my advantage. Also, the little girl would be completely isolated. At the time, when I had faked my death and escaped the Inquisitors, I was no stronger than any other person. Through the centuries, I came to gain other powers. Aside from bathing in the blood of young girls to remain young, I have gained incredible strength and agility. I had studied vampires and often wondered if perhaps I was a variation of one. As the little girl was passing my gate, I moved up behind her fast and struck. I would easily place my hand over her mouth and snatch her up. I quickly kicked the gate open and moved her to the backyard. I was still holding on to her as I moved behind a big tree for cover. Peeking out, I didn't see anyone. Had anyone seen me, I would have known about it already. "Let's get you inside, shall we?" I told my captured prey. The little girl struggled to break free the entire time. Upon reaching the back door, I opened it and brought her inside. After putting the little girl down and closing the door, she did something most unexpectedly in turning around quickly to face me. Suddenly, she came at me, most unexpected indeed, especially when she stopped just before me to spring up on one foot and kick me hard under my chin with the other. I cried out and fell back against the door. Before I could defend myself, the little girl did a spinning kick and caught me in my breast area, sending me crashing through the door and tumbling over and off the back porch. The little girl made one mistake, however. She should have stayed on me. I got back to my feet to see her standing on the steps. She should have run away when she had the opportunity. Very well, if she was looking for a fight, then I would gladly oblige. The little girl sprang from the porch and came at me again. As she reached me, she flew up with the intention of kicking me again. I showed her that I was capable of fighting too, by seizing her ankle and thigh in order to effortlessly fling her away from me. She landed on the grass a short distance away. Uninjured, she returned to her feet. Seeing the look on her face showed that she wasn't expecting one such as I. Of course, she couldn't see my own smile. After the first 100 years, I gained the vampire's vision and could see in the dark. I knew that I needed to someday look into my bloodline to determine where exactly my gifts came from. The little girl surprised me yet again. She moved her hand up to her glasses and pressed on her frame there. Her lenses now took on a greenish tone. Even though I was from the mid-1500s, my mind and my ways did not remain solely there. Clearly, the little girl was utilizing night vision. Indeed, I was facing a worthy adversary. There was no chance that I could allow her to run free. Not now. The little girl gasped when she saw my determination and fled. I would easily give chase. It was clear that she could not evade me on foot. She showed she had agility by leaping over the wooden fence. Yes, the little girl possessed some training. I did not believe, however, that she intended to come for me. I was always too careful in covering my tracks. No, I just so happened to pick an opposing hunter. In spite of the little girl's best efforts to evade me, I would soon lay hold of her again and force her upon her back. "Most interesting that you would fight me in such fashion," I complimented her. "But you shall not live after this Halloween night." I moved to lift her and return home. As she came up off her back, she took hold of my wrist and... "Ah! Ah!" Now I was flat on my back. The little girl was wearing what I thought were long-sleeved gloves. Upon grabbing me, she somehow discharged much electricity into my own body. Not since one of my last legendary sexual encounters had I screamed so loudly. I didn't know how long I was dazed and confused, but I could track her and resume the hunt. Not only would the little girl be part of my Halloween revitalization, I would likely retain her body and portion it out for food. A most worthy adversary, indeed. I gained enhanced senses, ranging from my own night vision to being able to smell and hear my prey. As I stated, I came to grow more and more powerful with age, much like what I would call my vampire cousins. It wasn't long before I found the little girl again. This time I caught her running through Gunter Square, a park in the downtown area of the village. I discreetly followed her, as not to gain the attention of the other trick-or-treaters. The little girl would run, but I both had her scent and could easily see where she ran to. She was using cunning, since she was not so swift on her feet. In time, I closed the gap more and more between us, and flew out from some nearby bushes to lay hold of her again. This time the little girl would not be able to utilize her electrical gloves again. After knocking her upon her back, I quickly relieved her of said gloves. "Now, little girl, you are mine," I said, feeling the thrill of both the hunt and the final capture. "Get off me!" the little girl yelled in a squeaky voice.
You're not safe yet. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
I would again underestimate her when she moved her hand to one of the temples of her glasses and pressed it. I felt a sudden sting on my neck and knew I had taken some form of dart from those glasses. Seriously, who was this little girl? The dart made me feel tired very quickly, allowing the little girl to easily remove me from her body. She sprang to her feet again and ran off. Whatever was in that dart would not last long with me. Healing was another power I gained through my years of immortality. Ultimately, however, anyone whom I've ever hunted has fallen before me. You don't get to be a prolific killer from becoming careless. I resumed the hunt again. I couldn't believe how excited I became over just one little girl. I believe that I had become a bit bored during my immortality, but she gave me such a renewed sense of pleasure outside of an occasional sexual encounter. My husband from back in the day taught me so very much. Not only did he teach me about exotic pleasures, he also taught me how to hunt and to enjoy it immensely. Interestingly enough, I never once heard the little girl call out for help. In fact, I could smell that I was near her again when she flew from the bushes she was hiding in and succeeded in connecting with the flying kick that she had missed earlier back at my cottage. Again, she stunned me. As I was getting back to my feet, her little foot connected with my face and sent me onto my back again. Her spinning kick was quite well practiced. The little girl remained there and kept me subdued for some minutes. However, she showed slight inexperience when I stopped her fist and dropped her onto her back with one of my own. The little girl refused to remain the prey and returned to her feet. She could still see me with her night vision glasses. Good. I wanted her to see how excited I had become. All thanks to her. The two of us displayed our fighting skills against one another again. The little girl was quite practiced in whatever fighting arts she was taught. It seemed that she had trained in many different ones. However, the little girl would still prove inexperienced compared to one such as I. Through my years of immortality, I had learned many fighting techniques. You needed to in order to be able to have lived for as long as I have. With a few swift punches, I had the little girl staggering. I made her fall with a swift spinning kick of my own. She remained on her back, showing me that she was stunned herself. However, the little girl would prove she was still not finished yet when she raised her arm and caught me right in the heart with a wooden stake. As I fell to my knees, I felt both the pain and the excitement. Truly, I had found my greatest adversary in this little girl. For a time, I wondered if this would truly be my end. Stakes would prove deadly against my vampire cousins. In the case of the younger ones, all it would take would be a well-placed stake through the heart. That alone can end them. Elder vampires, or masters, would also require decapitation. I bled profusely, but what kept me alive? Perhaps it was sheer will. Maybe it was because I wasn't entirely like my vampire cousins. It could even have been possible that I truly wanted to see the outcome to the contest between myself and the little girl. I truly desired her more than anything else now. Her blood and her meat would truly be worth savoring in my rejuvenation and in sustenance. "Just die!" the little girl yelled as she had come within a hair's breadth of decapitating me. Truly, the little girl belonged to my world. She just kept raising my excitement in hunting and finally capturing her. When the little girl missed me, she left herself wide open. All it would take for me to finally render her unconscious was a judo blow to the back of the neck. She cried out and fell onto her chest. Even though I felt the pain of the stake still in my own chest, the excitement of finally gaining the little girl drove back the pain. "You've made me quite dirty this night," I murmured. "I do believe that a bath is called for, don't you think?" Then I easily lifted the little girl from the ground and onto my shoulder. From there, I brought my captured prey back to the cottage.
More scares to come. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
The little girl finally opened her eyes and discovered that she had been secured with ropes and bungee cords. When it came to the latter, I learned of those techniques from another prolific killer that I came to admire and respect, in the Angel of Death, also known as Regin Devereaux. Her name was legend in the United States, especially here in Strickfield, even though I learned many techniques for hunting, killing, and fighting. There was always room to learn more and more. The little girl's eyes were wide open when she saw me enjoying a most pleasuring bath. I was beginning to wonder if you would ever awaken, Aileen Donnerly, I said softly. I could see the anger upon her face as she struggled to break free. Never mind that I was completely soaked, head to foot, with blood. I know. You should be a part of this rejuvenating bath, mortal, I told her. Not only did you give me the most wonderful night of hunting, and on Halloween at that, for the first time ever, I truly did not wish to kill someone that I was hunting. Truly you have gained my utmost respect this night. You are the first since my long-deceased husband. Believe me, I tried so hard to end you. I couldn't even bleed you, just a little, to fill my tub. I made sure Aileen saw my naked chest. Because of you, I require a great deal more blood to undo your most violent attack on me. I raised my hand in front of me. You needn't worry. I'm not even the least bit angry with you. I know I should be, but I'm still much too excited over you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for tonight. I mean that sincerely. Then Aileen screamed through her gag. Oh, I was wondering when you'd finally see all the bodies that I had to drain, I said. You see, I didn't have much time to dispose of them after bleeding them for my bath. Not after you stalked me and made me bleed quite fiercely. Aileen roared through her gag and thrashed. The more she fought to break loose, the more I pondered her situation and finally came to a decision. One moment, I must rinse first. Knowing that I was fully rejuvenated, I drained the tub and stood up. Then I turned on the water and took a normal shower. Once I was thoroughly clean, I turned off the water and grabbed a large towel. After wrapping it around myself, I got out and went to Aileen. All right, I'll remove the gag, I said. You still can't escape in any case. After I removed the gag, Aileen looked menacingly at me. You're a monster! I smiled a little. Once, I would have tortured you before killing you and bathing in your blood. Over the many centuries, I've become more understanding of things. I sighed. I understand why you'd think that way of me. However, I would hope that you would understand my situation here. What you just witnessed is how I remain young and beautiful. You're still a monster, the little girl squeaked. I sighed. There's no point in arguing with you, Aileen. Oh, I did go through your wallet and discovered your identity through both your state-issued and your high school IDs. Just kill me already, Aileen quipped. I laughed. I couldn't possibly kill you now, even though I know I should. As I was trying to explain, you've won my deepest respect. No. I'll take you with me. I'll care for you as my new companion. It does get a bit lonely living my life, I must admit. You would change that. I'm so sorry, But Aileen there already has a companion. This voice called out. I turned to see her friend with the unnatural pigtails, dressed in a Gothic costume. How did you find us? I demanded. Mortal technology, she answered. We're both using tracking apps on our phones. Then she looked at me with admiration. Wow, you really are her. You are Elizabeth Bathory, the Blood Countess. Your name is most legendary, more so in hell than here in the mortal realm. She raised her fists. But I don't care who you are right now. You took my friend there, and those other mortals. That means you're getting your ass handed to you. I narrowed my eyes. I'm impressed that you know me, but that won't. The sudden and surprising fireball from her mouth hit me square in the chest, causing me to land hard on my back. Soon this demonic cheerleader stood over me. I'll send Father my regards once you're on your way to hell, she said. And then I blacked out. A few weeks later, I discreetly found those girls. To be clear, I again used self-hypnosis to escape my fate. Those girls thought me to be dead, but I escaped from the Strickfield General Hospital morgue after I came out of my trance. I determined that I would leave Strickfield only upon learning who the demonic girl was. I would discover that she was Lucibella Tabon, the elder princess of hell, and the daughter of Satan and Bella Tabon. Strickfield is a place of legend, indeed. As it turned out, Aileen and Lucibella were out on Halloween hunting for a gang of vampires. In fact, that was where I discovered them. At the nest those girls had just cleansed. Most unfortunate that our paths crossed. However, I wouldn't seek to challenge Lucibella Tabon this day. Aileen Donnerly had truly won my respect, so I would leave them be. For the time being. Halloween was over, so I would take my leave of Strickfield until next October, unless circumstances deemed that I should return sooner. But make no mistake, Aileen Donnerly, our paths will most certainly cross again. They must. I was already looking forward to our next hunt, but I would grant Aileen until next Halloween and return for her then. I felt that I owed her a generous extension of her life for winning my respect. As for the elder princess of hell herself, I intended to repay her for striking me down. I vowed that in a year's time I would be ready to do battle with her as well. Elizabeth Bathory was a real person? Aileen suddenly asked. So, they were discussing me. Indeed, Lucibella confirmed. In fact, I don't know why she spared your life. She has a reputation for being quite merciless, yet she had you dead to rights. I'd have come for you sooner, but that vampire gang jumped me in Gunter's Square. She looked at the remains of the nest. That'll teach those bastards. What all do you know about Bathory? Aileen asked her friend. Let's discuss it on the way to Denoyer's Grill, Lucibella answered. I've worked up quite an appetite clearing out this nest. And while the elder princess of hell would explain to Aileen Donnerly all about me, I would take my leave of Strickfield until next October. And that, my spookies, is our Halloween tale for tonight. But don't go too far, because tomorrow the nightmares don't stop. They just move to Elm Street as we do a deep dive into the film Nightmare on Elm Street, exploring Freddy Krueger, the dreamscapes, and all the terror that made it a slasher legend. And on Saturday, we head back to Strickfield for one fateful Halloween. You will not want to miss it. And on Monday, we're crossing from fiction to fact in a brand new episode of Terrifying and True, where we'll be sinking our teeth into the real-life horror of the Vampire of Sacramento, a true crime case so disturbing it makes Elizabeth Bathory seem tasteful. And if you love what we're doing here at Weekly Spooky, make sure to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you want to support us directly and join over 90 other spookies in doing so, head to weeklyspooky.com/join. For as little as $1 a month, you get 2 bonus shows every month, over 5 years of exclusive creepypasta readings and audiobooks, and so much more. And I want to say an extra special thank you to our Patreon podcast boosters, folks who pay a little bit more to hear their names at the end of the show. And they are Johnny Nix, Kate and Lulu, Jessica Fuller, Mike Ishkiwi, Jenny Green, Amber Hansford, Karen Weemet, Jack Kerr, and Craig Cohen. And if you want to join them and hear your name at the end of every show in my silky, spooky voice, just head to weeklyspooky.com/join and select the $15 a month or higher option. It really helps us keep the show going as we reach our 6th year on October 31st. But now it's time for me to get out of here and get back to work. There's so much more spooky to bring you. For myself, for my executive producers Rob Fields and Bobbletopia.com, my producer Dan Wilder, and my composer Ray Mattis, I will talk at you tomorrow.
Thank you for listening. Make sure to find your way back next week. But for now, you are safe. Trust me.